It started with 2 guards and a folding chair. I didn't drive 8 hours in polished boots and a marine dress uniform just to be told I was sitting in the wrong section. But that's exactly what happened, and let me tell you, I knew, the moment those 2 young men in black polos walked toward me, that this wasn't about seating. Not really. This was something else. Something I'd seen before. You learn to recognize it after a few decades of wearing the uniform, especially when you look like me. It was my son's high school graduation, a spring afternoon in May, in a small Texas town where the breeze carried barbecue smoke, and someone's cousin always knew someone in the marching band. The kind of town where people nod politely, but also glance twice when a black man shows up in full dress blues. I'd parked my Dodge Charger, the same one my late wife used to drive to PTA meetings, next to a rusted chain-link fence, and sat in that car for a minute, holding a photo from 20 years ago, her holding our son as a newborn, both of them smiling like nothing could touch them. I folded it into my inner pocket and promised her out loud, I won't miss it. Inside, the gym buzzed with chaos. Concession popcorn, floor wax, cheap perfume, 100 voices overlapping. I showed my printed ticket to a volunteer and was told, kindly and with a clipboard, that I had 3rd row, family section. The chair was flimsy plastic, one leg shorter than the rest, but I took my seat with no complaint. My eyes scanned the stage silver letters across a sagging banner. Class of 2024. Somewhere in the back rows, my son Marcus was standing tall in a black robe, trying not to fidget. He had my posture, but her eyes. Then came the anthem. Everyone stood. I stayed exactly as I was, hands loose on my lap, posture straight. I didn't need to move to show respect. My entire life had been a salute. As the final note faded, I noticed them, the 2 guards. Not school police, but private security. Harlan Security Services, according to their matching polos. One looked barely old enough to rent a car, gum popping between his teeth. The other was broader, head shaved clean, carrying himself like a man who liked telling people what to do. They didn't make eye contact at first. They just moved, weaving through the chairs toward me. Sir, we're going to need you to come with us. I turned slowly. Is there a problem? This section's for family of graduates. I didn't raise my voice, just reached into my jacket and unfolded the same ticket I'd already shown. 3rd row, left side. Family seating. Yeah, well, it's full now, the younger one said. We were told it's at capacity. It was full when I sat down, I replied. You want to tell me who gave that order? A few heads turned. Somebody in the bleachers tilted their phone just slightly. Maybe filming. Maybe not. Look, the lanky one said. There's open seats in the back. No big deal. I didn't drive here to sit in the back. They stared at me, confused, maybe annoyed, definitely unprepared. The taller one shifted his stance, like he wasn't sure what to say next. The other leaned in closer. This doesn't have to turn into anything. And that's when it happened. The gym doors at the back opened, quiet but intentional. One by one, men walked in. No uniforms. No announcements. But I knew every one of them. I didn't have to turn around. I could feel them the way you feel the shift in air pressure before a storm. Creed Marston was first. Beard now salt and pepper. Still had that same steady walk I remembered from Afghanistan. No limp anymore. He scanned the room, eyes landing on me, then on the 2 guards. They didn't know what was coming. Another stood. Then another. Horton. Meeks. Lim Soto. 6 in total, spaced out like random attendees, but they weren't random at all. These were SEALs. Brothers. The kind of men who knew how to move in silence, how to measure a room without saying a word. Creed was the first to speak. Is there a reason this man's being bothered? His voice wasn't loud, but it carried. Not aggressive, just certain. Final. Sir, the guard said, holding up a hand. We've got it under control. Creed stepped forward. No, you don't. By now, the gym had gone quiet. Even the principal had stopped flipping through her notes. A teacher near the stage whispered something to the assistant principal. Parents turned. A few kids looked up from their phones. Garvin, the broader guard, glanced around, realized he was out of place. "You don't get to put your hands on this man," Creed said. "You don't get to move him. And you sure as hell don't get to speak to him like that." The tension snapped. Not loud, not violent, just a shift, a tightening. "You think that uniform makes you better than everyone else?" Garvin muttered. I looked up at him, finally. Locked eyes. "No, but it reminds me of everything I've carried. And everything you don't understand." His hand hovered near his belt, not on a weapon, but close enough to matter. That's when Creed moved again. Touch him, and we're having a different conversation. And in that moment, I remembered. 15 years ago, Kandahar. A roadside explosion turned 3 Humvees into metal confetti. We were pinned behind a burned-out axle. Creed had taken a bullet through the thigh. I dragged him, and Soto, and Divas through gunfire, sand, and heat so thick you could taste it. No backup, just instinct. Just the promise that we don't leave each other behind. That day defined something. Not just survival, but loyalty. The kind that shows up uninvited. The kind that walks into a high school gym in Texas and doesn't say a word unless it has to. Back in the present, the guards started backing off. One got a whisper from a school administrator. The other finally looked around and realized he'd lost whatever moral ground he thought he had. They left through the side exit. Didn't say a word. Didn't look back. When Marcus's name was called, the room exploded. Not with polite claps, but with something else. Something deeper. Measured. 6 men clapped in unison. No salute. No speech. Just a statement. He walked the stage like it was a battlefield he had earned. And when he found my eyes in the crowd, I gave him the smallest smile. The kind his mother used to give me when she wanted to say everything without saying anything. Afterward, out by the parking lot, he came up to me and said, "I was about to say something, Dad. I was ready to walk off that stage." I put my hand on his shoulder. "And that's exactly why you didn't." He looked confused. "Because you knew I could handle it. And because you knew your moment mattered more." He paused, then asked, "Who were those guys?" "Men who know what loyalty means," I said. "Men who never forgot." And as we stood there under the hot Texas sun, watching the crowd thin out and the folding chairs disappear into storage, I realized something. It wasn't just about respect. It wasn't even about the insult. It was about what kind of man you become when no one is watching. What kind of father? What kind of brother? What kind of soldier? We drove home that evening in the Charger, windows down, music low, not saying much. But before we pulled onto the highway, he looked over at me and said, "I want to be like you." And I just nodded. You already are. So if you're watching this and wondering what strength looks like, let me tell you, it doesn't always shout. Sometimes it just sits still, and the whole damn world takes notice. Now I want to hear from you. What would you have done in that moment? What does it mean to stand your ground with dignity instead of rage? Let me know down in the comments. Share this story if it moved you. And don't forget to subscribe because some stories deserve to be remembered.